Welcome back.
Reject Squad, ready to roll.
yeah. We're just gonna call them Reject Squad at this point. That's kind of how these characters feel to me.
Except for
credit to Dwib. So Joba now owes me £2.
Sorry, Dwibs, you have to sign a contract.
Well, not £2, Dwibs. Remember conversion rates.
That would make it like £1.70.
Yeah, the £1.70. Yeah.
So now, let me understand this a bit. Like, we established that the school mission in searching for the school was basically pointless because I think we only found Jace and he's out.
No. The only thing we found, apparently, Dr. Wesley managed to escape with the kids someplace else.
Okay, so that's what the Zeta Squad is added to search for clues and all.
Specifically, the city hall, as we're gonna learn.
This is a fucking Scooby-Doo chase. Fuck.
If it were a Scooby-Doo thing, I think I'd honestly be having more fun.
Again, gameplay.
Why are you so excited? He's General Raam.
Even if it's those weird crossovers with WWE, I'd be having more fun.
Again, gameplay-wise, there's nothing wrong with this expansion. Gameplay-wise, it's basically just the Gears of War free gameplay again. Except for Raam's shadow, the only real new thing is Raam's shadow segments, and they're not even that different. You can very easily get accustomed to how he controls. It's fine. It's mostly just the fact that there you go, burning truck.
What is this, Resident Evil 4?
The only thing that this campaign, in terms of story and characters, manages to get right is, of course, the horror-like atmosphere and some bits of dark humor here and there, like Theo pointed out earlier. The problem is, again, the characterization. That's the big problem here. Like, the characters are so who the hell cares?
Like, our main character will play. He has a cigar and a very elaborate, mutton chops and beer combo.
And that's basically his character, really.
I guess
they do establish in it through his dialogue that he resents the cog, and the only reason he's doing it is because he's basically being forced to. But the game never really goes into any specifications about why he hates the cog. Like, he just hates because, anti-establishment shit.
Also, from the dialogue, I get to guess that he was like a hunter or something because he sees, killing the locals as like a sport thing. But that's pretty much it.
Like I said,
Alicia is one note, I will have to admit. I don't. Aside from being, keep in mind, I've seen worse female characters, with supporting female characters, but she's so. I don't even know. I won't say one note because I don't have idea what her note is supposed to be.
That's exactly the thing. She's just there because.
I will take that over the strong woman meme. The one that insulted the other comrades and think she doesn't need them. But
allow me, Theo, to tell you the most memorable aspects of both Alicia and the female character from Gears of War Judgment, whose name I already forgot. Alicia's most memorable trait is the fact that she has the voice of Laura Bailey doing a Latino accent, and that's basically the most memorable thing I get from her.
So the other trait for the other character is that she's played by Ali, so got it.
Well, Pedro, at least you remember the name of this character compared to the other one.
That's the thing, is remember, if you go back and watch our commentary at the beginning, I forgot it was Jove and Till who had to remind me of her name. So,
you remembered it now, so yeah.
Well,
speaking of Alicia, stop shooting at her ass.
Here's the most memorable thing about the main. Here's the most memorable thing about the squad female member of Gears of War Judgment. She has Lightning's voice. Yes, literally, Ali Hill is just doing Lightning's voice.
It's also a bit of a shame because when Pedro streamed a bit of the game and I did watch to listen, just out of curiosity, I checked Ali Hill's resume to see where she is now. And she hasn't been done much after the Final Fantasy roles games that involve the lightning. It seems that she's not having a good luck in being recasted here and there. It's kind of a shame because I do believe she has the potential for having good versatility for different roles of voice acting.
Hopefully, if if Sakurai ever manages to make a new Kid Icarus game, we can get her to voice Palutena again.
Again, yeah, because but again, it is weird. It depends on what Nintendo treats this policy, considering they couldn't or they chose to not get her back for the Smash games and choose a sound-alike. Don't know why. Because pretty much even for Ultimate, Lucina supposedly at this point. Has the character be voiced by, I think, Alexis Tipton, because Laura Bailey's contract has expired or been changed due to the whole voice actors union, protest movement back in the day. And one of the laws that Laura Bailey lost was one Lucina. But even in Smash Ultimate, Nintendo still was allowed to recycle all the voice lines for Lucina that were voiced by Laura Bailey. So she doesn't really have any new lines voiced by Alexis Tipton. So technically speaking, they are allowed to use that, but they had like a different type of contract where they couldn't get Ali Hildis to voice Palutena and to give her like the few lines she has in combat. It feels odd.
That's the thing too. American voice acting is full of bureaucracy, and I don't really get it.
I can imagine that.
How Square manages to
be consistent most of the time.
To be consistent with all the bloody loopholes and all that stuff going on that stop Nintendo from keeping the voices out.
Keep in mind, Dave, that even Square is not managing, to keep a perfect 100% score. But I do agree that they're the ones who are trying their asses the most.
Yeah, it's a mess of. Go ahead.
I mean, hell, they've managed to keep almost all the VAs for whenever they bring back a Final Fantasy X character consistent.
And even
2001.
Yeah, and even then, I don't know if you heard interviews and all, but James Arnold Taylor. Oh, there we go, our choice. James Arnold Taylor is very passionate about Tidus. Makes sense considering it was one of his major first roles that he voiced in modern gaming, aside from Ratchet and Clank. But I don't know about you, Pedro, but I do hear that his age is starting to act up because his voice starts to cracking a bit here and there, both in interviews and in voiced lines. It's an unfortunate effect, but
I'm guessing you're mentioning the City NT.
Yeah, that was his most recent role where he voiced the character. I don't know how he specifically is for World of Final Fantasy.
Oh, he's great. In World of Final Fantasy, he's genuinely great. He sounds exactly like you'd expect.
Even in NT, it's just a matter of the fact that you're starting to hear that the voice actor is getting a bit old.
Although it should be said, Theo, that in the City games, they tend to still fix the problems that he had in 10, but still keep his personality somewhat akin to his original game. To a certain extent.
No, I know that. You told me that,
but in World of Final Fantasy, they basically turn him into Zidane, so he doesn't have to go high pitched. So it's much easier for him. So
yeah, you told me. Anyway, I was checking here. In the last couple of years, Ali Hills has done the most noticeable role that I can think of. She was one particular supporting character in the final season of The Walking Dead.
Didn't she do Lightning in NT at least?
Yes, she did. Don't worry about that. But
that was like 4 or 5 years ago.
The console release was done in 2018, Jova, and that was the first release of American voice acting. The arcade edition that was released in 2015 onward
was all in Japan.
Was only for Japan. But no, she is one of the custom voices for the Soul Calibur 6, custom characters. She's like one of the young fans for NBA 2K20. But aside from that, she has been like in only a couple of episodes of some particular series like Grey's Anatomy, Family Guy, or Gods of Medicine. She didn't seem to have like a new consistent role, which is a bit sad.
It is.
Well, apparently, according to IMDb, the most recent thing she was in
Family Guy.
was she played Meg's friend.
Well, I know that a job's a job to give money, and in Ali's case, it's more evident considering the roles the lack of important roles. but having to work for current Family Guy is a bit sad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even Seth MacFarlane himself doesn't want to do that anymore. He expressed his discontent more and more.
Well, remember, Teo. He even himself already publicly said this. The problem is he can't quit the show because Fox will fire all the staff employees. So he's basically keeping the show on so that all the staff employees can keep their jobs. Seth is basically he's only allowing the show to exist so he can keep his friends on jobs. Basically,
that would also explain a lot of the resentment that most of the recent episodes also had in the script.
Yeah, it's literally to a point. For hopefully Disney will do something when the contracts expire.
That's the thing. It seems that we're mostly intent. They're mostly focusing on The Simpsons more than Family Guy.
I really
Family
hope
Guy is being just shafted onto Hulu, and that's it.
Hopefully, when the contracts expire, hopefully Disney will treat the situation a lot better than Fox did.
I am hoping.
Again, something tells me that Disney was just mostly interested when it comes to this Fox series about just The Simpsons, and Family Guy was just there for the ride.
Well, I heard American Dad as well.
Yeah. I was actually gonna ask, now American Dad, that's a Seth MacFarlane show that Seth is actually still working on, and the show that evidently
American Dad is actually still solid too, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I never went into it to begin with, so I don't know.
It's actually pretty good. You should try it.
But isn't MacFarlane now working at Universal?
It's a co-shared thing.
Yeah, it's because Teo basically the show actually changed networks at one point. It went to was it UPN, Jova? I think
it's TBS.
TBS, that's it. The show changed networks, but does it still technically belong to Fox though? I don't.
It's America has. Actually, Britain has this as well, where rival networks can make programs to put on one of their rivals' channels. American Dad, I think it's on TBS, even though it's a Fox-made show. And I mean, not that it matters to me as a Brit. It's aired around here on ITV2, but it's a common thing. I mean, hell, sometimes it's even made by ITV for the BBC.
It's also a thing similar in my country is where before Netflix was released actually here in my country, a couple of the Netflix exclusive series were instead broadcasted onto Sky, which is part of the Comcast group.
Just to put a basic idea to the overall style and tone of early American Dad is very similar to Team America World Police, because remember it was back in 2005 that it started, back when George Bush had just been re-elected. So it was it was very full of political commentary on that. Again, doing the Team America kind of stuff, and it worked really well. When Obama got elected, they had to make some changes, but they still retained, for the most part, all the character dynamics, and so it still works really well for what it is.
Yeah.
They went more into classic Family Guy before it started to suck, basically. Became a bit less political, because now, since Seth MacFarlane was a big supporter of Obama, it didn't really make much sense for them to make fun of Obama, because
Can I talk about the irony that American Dad, the show that's about a Republican family, falls less into the politics trap than Family Guy does nowadays?
True, yeah.
That's because American Dad remembers its roots, though.
Well, remember, Jova, it wasn't even just Seth. Mike Barker and Matt Weitzman also went to American Dad. So basically, the key people that made Family Guy what it was left the show, and the people who stuck and the new people that replaced them completely turned the show into something that it wasn't.
Mike Barker isn't with American Dad anymore.
True, but I think Matt and Seth are still there, aren't they?
Okay, I would say this, gameplay-wise, no matter who is holding it, this weapon is probably the most satisfying thing in this game.
Oh yeah, it is. This weapon is really cool. It's basically carrying a movable turret of sorts. And
as you can see, it has a higher fire rate. It compensates by sucking up a shitload of bullets, but it seems to be worth it.
Basically, it works like this. As you can see, Ty is carrying my my ammo carrier. So basically, it requires 2 people. So even, I'm guessing in the multiplayer, the way it works is
the way cooperation.
When you find one of these, you probably will signal one of your partners, "Hey, help me carry this while I use it," or something like that. I'm assuming that's how it is in the multiplayer.
Yeah, I do wonder if this DLC also serves to advertise the multiplayer as well.
Probably. Basically, now we have to take care of all this onslaught of locusts before we can go into the building.
Oh.
Again, it goes back to the problem that I mentioned in part 19. Sometimes these the sections in the gameplay sections in this DLC can last a bit too longer than they need to. Again, probably to artificially lengthen the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it's rather telling when we're having a more interesting time talking about the logistics of American Dad more than this.
To be fair, Dweebs, even for the vanilla game, it's like that you know, it's a bit different.
Well,
the major difference, Dweebs, is that occasionally in the main
well,
game,
there
will be actual banter between the characters. It will be nice to to notice.
Well, think of it like this, Whips. You haven't played this game, but you've played Uncharted 2 and 4. So let me use that as an example. Like, I'm sure you'll agree with me that that the Uncharted shooting sections are far more fun to play than to watch. Obviously, it's the same applies here. The same applies here. Obviously, this is always going to be a case.
Actually, yeah, that's a good timing step for me to mention one thing that I mentioned since the first Gears that I didn't follow up. The fact that recently I played basically a bootleg version of this called Inversion. It's one of those games released in the arc of the early 2010s that were just experimental for the sake of it, for companies to make new IPs, and then got forgotten because it's a Gears clone down to the aesthetics, gameplay system, and slightly setting. It's not identical, but it's close to it.
So it's kind of like Chris's campaign in Resident Evil 6.
But guess what? Well, that's the thing. Okay, Dibs already knows, but maybe I forgot because I mentioned him. Try to take a wild guess. A Gears of War clone with the same style of aesthetic, not even like a cartoony art ceremony. No, it also is a very realistic photorealism setting, even for the enemies, because they're probably humans. Take a wild guess who's the publisher.
No, don't say.
Jova?
I'm guessing Square.
I'm gonna say Activision.
Namco. Like, yes,
Huh.
I don't know. I don't know either. Like, seriously.
Namco, I thought.
Well, to be fair, Namco Bandai has published Western realistic-looking games before. It's not
to this kind of degree, though.
Yeah, I see what
Like,
you mean.
the closest thing I can imagine similar, but was also been released around those years, was the Dead to Rights series. But aside from, and even then, I think the original games were developed by a Japanese developer or some kind, at least before the reboot.
Right now,
But
they're publishing the Men of Medan series by Supermassive Games. So
True, and also that Fast and Furious license title beats the shit out of me. Why? I guess we just got the hang of publishing licensed games of most kinds.
there you go. Too. We're building up to them meeting Raam.
Okay then, but the thing about it is that the major difference for Inversion was the fact that you don't have a team. You're only playing like in two. It has co-op, but it's only two characters, and it has the gimmick, quote unquote, of altered gravity. Like, you have a device that can change the gravity, and occasionally, like, you find on the side of buildings. Don't get too excited; it's not used that much. But for the most of it, it's mostly like a Gears clone. I had the intention to record it at some point, and I still have. But here's the problem: playing single player is stressing because even in easy mode you will die a lot.
How come the Namco logo isn't inverted?
I don't know if it was to give the particular experience.
Well, the ESRB rating logo wasn't reversed either. Neither was the Sony logos.
I get the rating logo not being like that, but why not the logo of the company that made it?
Because
I mean, hell, even EA, you know, when they release a new game, not EA Sports, but when they release a game just under their main EA label, they tweak their logo so that it fits the game it's with.
Also, the game was made by by Saber Interactive, which is a studio that has a track record of not doing great games. One of the most noticeable games that they did, for example, so far, was Shaq Fu Legend Reborn, developing properly, and doing some particular ports, like the Switch port of The Witcher 3 or Vampire, or, for example, doing the remastered version of the Ghostbuster video game, which, from what I heard, runs very decently. But they were also responsible for games like World War Z, which was basically a disaster.
I enjoyed the Shaq Fu Legend Reborn. Like it doesn't feel like a true sequel to the original, but on its own merit, it's a pretty fine game, I would argue.
Like at least from what I see, I'm not too fan of the humor, at least all the time.
You don't like the meta humor, I'm guessing.
No, but more the raunchy one. But I guess I'll have to see it in the entirety before giving a proper judgment.
I'd say it's a legit good game.
I genuinely love the very first line of dialogue with Shaq going, "Okay, my story is incredibly long and convoluted, so please pay attention." So
the lot that made that game Tia mentioned, they're making that fill-in to WWE 2K game. 2K Battlegrounds, aka the one with the more deformed character models and the more arcadey style.
Not to mention, the game that I mentioned before in version was developed by the Russian division of Saber Interactive.
And even then, too, even if you don't care for the writing, the gameplay is pretty self-explanatory and solid, to be honest.
No, that's what I mean. I didn't say that I hated it or something.
No, I know. Like, but on Saber Interactive's deal, which would be developing the game, they did a good job developing that game, gameplay-wise. I don't know who wrote the game. I don't know if it was someone from inside the studio, if they hired a writer to do it.
I doubt it was Shock himself, but let me check if
No, there's no way.
There we go. Two writers, Craig Sherman and Oliver Hollis Lake. Let me check if they have something under their belt.
Thank you for standing right here in front of me so I can shoot you, dude. I mean, that was very helpful of you.
You're saying helpful that day.
There we go. Yes, crawl, and now die. There you go.
In my skin, these wolves I will not heal.
Nice work, Zeta. Let's see if we have comms back.
This dialogue just rolls off the screen, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the one-liners don't really work. Maybe it's a combination of.
They're not one-liners either. They're just like bits of script anyone can write.
I'll give them credit. They are actual one-liners, but I will agree with Pedro. They don't have as much ring to them.
There is an attempt, but not much, unfortunately.
I guess we can thank you for all of those unauthorized hammer drops.
There we go, Oliver Hollis. Let me see what he did.
There you go, north of City Hall. We're almost there.
The evacuation is over.
These are more like generic military guns.
20 minutes before Crowstorm, so we're 20 minutes away from getting back to where we started.
Okay, we'll tell you this, Pedro. The writers for Shang Fu, basically that's their only work. But it's interesting to note that Oliver Hollis is not really a writer, more like a visual effects supervisor and a motion capture actor.
Interesting. Well, I'm guessing they probably didn't really have the money to buy professional writers, so they had to
Hearing Shaku's poor dialogue, I'm not surprised.
Honestly, Debs, I still think the dialogue in Legend Reborn is perfectly fine.
I thought you were talking about the original.
Oh no, the original. No, the original was written by a pack of monkeys. Like, although, like I said, like I've talked about in the commentary that we did, like I still really enjoy that game from an ironic standpoint because it's so funny to me. Like I love to give you an idea, Jova. When we finished the first third of the campaign, hold on, there's a cutscene. Let me see if there's any dialogue here. I don't even remember. No, nothing. Okay.
No.
Great.
Okay. Again, just have the characters, say, banter and do something to each other, like, and not even just in the gameplay. Just have the characters do something interesting. Jesus Christ, man. Where was I? Oh yeah. Like basically, Joe, when we finished the first third of the Shaq Fu campaign, suddenly a cutscene comes out of nowhere, and says, "Somewhere in the second world, Beast brings his skeleton soldiers to life." And both Teo and Wes were understandably confused. So, but then I could just comfort them by saying, "Don't worry, guys. This cutscene has no point. The skeleton soldiers they're talking about don't never appear anywhere in this goddamn game." So that cutscene was just a waste of your time. So it does have that riffing material appeal going forward at the very least. Which is more than I can say for the narrative of this DLC, if I'm going to be honest. Like even as riff material, it doesn't. It's just the worst kind of bad. It's just boring. Yeah. Gorgon pistol. I don't really like that weapon, so I'll leave it there. All right.
Where are you going?
Where am I?
Over there.
I'm actually looking.
Going to wipe out your petty human race.
That's like that particular screen in that Game Boy camera game, the one that creeps you out, that says, "Where do you think you're going?" or something.
All right, so let's break down this gate with the
walker from Aliens.
Yeah, the carrier.
Again,
Again, you can tell Cliff is a big horror fan.
Pick that up and use it as a shield.
Also, it doesn't. This kind of walker also makes sense from a practical standpoint because in case of injuries,
I don't know. I actually really like this part. We're going to creatively use this little bit of metal to protect ourselves from the bullets of these turrets.
Oh, cool.
So that's actually kind of a clever use of the walker. Good job. That's just again. That's one of my main problems with Gears 4 and 5, and even Judgment to a lesser extent. The fact that
after a whole game, like, okay.
No. The fact that they completely drop the horror elements, Jova. There's okay. Occasionally they'll be in a dark corridor here and there, but that's still
it's like filling a quota.
Okay. I'll go back to what I said here. One of the things I really missed was the cool monster design. Like, you remember how I spent a lot of our Gears 3 campaign gushing about how I felt like that had some of the most best and creative monsters.
Yeah, look at this. I don't give a crap about the characters, but from a general atmosphere standpoint, this is a pretty cool scenario. We're fighting this big group of krills. This is pretty cool. We're not invested, but from a concept standpoint, I dig this. If it was in a better script with better characters, it would work fantastically. It's a great set piece, like Joe was saying.
I don't think the more controversial writer from 4 and 5 was anywhere near this script yet, was he?
No. He only started in the next game, Judgment. At least Terry told us who the writers for this DLC were. It was not Tom Bissell.
Well, at least from what we know, because for all intents and purposes, it seems to point that they're the same of the main game.
It's probably just the same guys from the main game. What was I gonna say? So you were talking about set pieces earlier, Joe. That's exactly the thing. This Krill Storm. This is the only set piece in this DLC, and admittedly, it's a really awesome set piece. Problem is, by the time we get to this it's just like we're just not invested in the character, so it becomes harder to care. Go
It
ahead.
goes back to my other point about how this feels like, a prologue or a first act. Like, this set piece feels like something that would be at the end of an act in a Gears campaign. But, like go at the end of the first act. And that really helps to get the rest of it. Unfortunately, here it's pretty much borderline where it ends. Not completely where it ends, but borderline where it ends.
Yeah, we're almost done. Like, basically, after we get to the very center of the city hall in the Krills, we're gonna have our final boss battle against Raam.
And as story dictates, he's not gonna die.
No, he's not gonna die. They're gonna be forced to run and well,
anyway, I think a good comparison would be like to this. You know what would have been nice though? If this campaign could be, well, let's not say the entire length of the campaign, but if this were like a mini campaign, like, okay, a comparison I would make, and yes, I know it's a different genre, but it's really to me one of the best examples of how you put up a good DLC one. Is a DLC case in an Ace Attorney game. Sure, it's like not like the longest of cases, but it feels like a full-out, mini campaign in and of itself here and there. Like,
yeah.
I wish that they could get something of that caliber here. Like, well,
Java with this attorney, it helps where the aside from the ongoing storyline, each of the turnabouts are about their own specific minor story arc. While a Gears game, which is divided in act, its space broken in different kind of segments. Some are longer, some are shorter.
That's part of what I mean by why I wish that they could do something similar to that. Like, maybe have this campaign be its own miniature.
And they're all connecting to one big thing instead of being each reliant on its own. Sorry.
Well, when you think about it, Jova, it's much easier for an Ace Attorney game to do it because in Ace Attorney you're constantly reusing the same animations and backgrounds over the course of things, so it becomes a lot cheaper to produce when you do it.
Okay. But here's an idea for what I mean, though. Maybe have it be with the classic Delta Squad, but have it be on, like, one of, say, a side mission of theirs, like maybe a flashback to the good old days to a mission of theirs that they did or something. You know what I mean? Oh, that right there is your mini story.
These dialogue, man.
Yeah, it's
like I said, it's just stimulating.
It's dry. It's so dry. Like
it's a cardboard cereal.
It lacks wit. It lacks the wit of the main campaigns of the previous the main campaign of this game and the main campaign of the previous two games. Like it.
Okay. Let me put this. It's like a very good steak dinner. The problem is that everything but the steak is either bland or not as tasty to eat as the steak. Like the steak being the gameplay, but the stuff supporting the dinner being, everything else.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. All right, everybody.
But it's not the most delicious.
All right, everybody. In the next part, we finish the DLC, so tune in for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.